I've created this channel 3 months ago, and if you follow me since, you probably saw that I'm a huge fan of Supabase. So in this video, we are going to create an application from scratch with Next.js and Material UI. Basically, it's going to be a meeting app. I take the example of a coach that wants to authenticate in this application. Then he wants to have a list of clients, so he wants to be able to add new clients. But also he wants to create events with dates, names, and he wants to relate these events to clients. So we are going to use the relationship system of Supabase. Let's go. Let's try to do it on the fly like this. This app is not going to be very fancy. It's not about how to design an app. It's more about functional stuff. So let's go. So here I'm on my Supabase website. Here I'm going to click on sign in, and I'm going to create really fast a new database, and we are going to start like this. So I'm going to click on new project. Yeah, and it's going to be on my organization. It's going to be for free. Yes, there we go. And I got to find a name, and basically this app is for a coach, and this coach will be able to create new clients, and he will be able to relate agenda meetings to those clients. So let's call it coach, yes, coach agenda. Yes, coach agenda, it's good. We will have to generate a password. There we go. And I'm going to create this new project. All right, so I got my coach agenda database set up. And for those who don't know Supabase, it's an amazing tool where we can create directly tables like this and create database. We can make some storage. There is an authentication system. There is a SQL editor. There is here the database. So all the tables we're gonna record. You got also edge functions. You got a log explorer. You got reports. There is an API docs here, which is very useful because you can directly copy paste codes that will be generated from the tables. So what I propose you to do now is to go in here on SQL editor, and down here you've got some scenarios, okay? And they offer a quick way to explore Supabase. So here there is a user management starter, which is here, which I used already for almost 10 projects that we're gonna use. So I'm going to click on here, and we see here that I moved to the SQL editor part of the application. And I've got this SQL snippet already made with a table profile and some rules. So if we look a little bit at these rules, we have a table profile that is going to be created. There we go, policy, so public profiles are viewable by everyone. User can insert their own profile, etc., etc. Setup real time, okay. Storage for avatar image, etc., etc. So I'm going to click on run in here. So you don't see it because there is my screen, but I'm going to click on run, and it's going to execute the SQL. All right, our SQL query has been created. What did happen in here? If I go on my table editor, here we see that I got a table called profile that has been created with a model. We are going to create a new table just after, but first let me show you also the authentication part. So here we are supposed to be in the authentication part. So we've got the policies that have been added from our snippet SQL. From here, you see that the general settings have been set up. And here we see that we can provide authentication with an email, all right? So basically, that's what we have from now. So remember, we want to authenticate, so now it's set up. We will have a profile session that will be here. But we want also to register events that will be related to profile. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go on my SQL editor, and I'm going to create a new query, all right? And this new query, I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to give it the name of create tables events. All right, and I'm going to save this. And this query will be basically almost the same as here. So what I'm going to do, we need to copy paste this, okay, and I will have this table profile, and I'm going to put all the same element as I have in here. But you will see, we will change some stuff. So basically, we don't talk about a public profile database. We talk about an event. So I'm going to create an event here, and there will be an ID for this event. So basically here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to type profile ID, UUID, which will be referred to auth users, okay? Then there will be no username. Updated, we can let it, okay? There will be no username, but there will be actually a date. So it will be more created at, okay? And let's say that we are going to take this one, okay? And this, we can remove it. So as you see, I don't have an ID. I'm going to put an ID, UUID, and by default, it's going to be a generated ID. So I'm going to use UUID, UUID generate. So we let default in here. Basically, this date will be also the same, the timestamp with zone. So what we can do here is that from the date, I will have to create a timestamp, and there we go. We want a unique ID, so mainly we can remove this. Okay, and there we go. We've got our schema. Our schema for our events is here. There will be a date, there is a created at, an updated at, profile ID, there we go. But also we will have clients. So basically I can already think about putting here a client ID, okay? And there will be a UUID, not null in here. So I'm saving automatically. Yes, it's saved automatically, this schema. And now I'm going to create a new query. And this new query, okay, I'll rename this query, will be create table clients or create clients table. And basically we are going to do the same as here, all right? So I'm going to create this clients. There will be for every client a UUID already set up. But this client will have, of course, a name, and it will be a text, not null. So we got two tables. We've got the clients table, okay, and we got the events table. Now what we want to do, we want to make them public, okay? So basically what I'm going to copy paste in here is this line, alter table profile, enable row level security. That is what is most important with Supabase, the row level security. Okay, so what I'm going to say is here for the both, I'm going to add the row table security. Those two profiles are viewable by everyone. So here, let's say that clients are viewable by everyone. All right. And here, okay, on their own profile, users can insert on their own profile, on their own clients, on clients. And here we are going to add a new entry in our table because we want user to insert only their own client on their own client. So here I'm going to put an owner ID, which will be a UUID. And if I get back on my table up there, we will see that we want to put a reference. And this reference will be auth.user. So I'm going to put a not null, all right? So I'm going to say that when auth ID is owner ID, all right. Users can update their own profile. We don't need it. So let's get back quickly on this line. Public clients are viewable by everyone on clients. It's not exactly this. We want to say that public clients are viewable by their owner, okay? So what I can do, of course, is copy and paste this line that I have in here. We want to create a policy when public clients, actually it's not public, it's clients, for clients, there we go, are viewable by their owner on clients for insert with check is equal to owner ID. Copy paste these two lines and we get back to the table events here, and I will start the same thing. Events are viewable by their own owner. So here it's not owner ID, it's profile ID. Okay, so on events, and it's not public events, it's private events. So I'm getting back in here, events, there we go. Events are viewable by their owner. So events, we check auth ID, there we go. Users can only insert on their own client. So user can only insert on their own events. And again, it's going to be a profile ID. If I would be very strict, I would get back in here, and instead of having owner ID, such I have here, I would have profile ID, because I already relate to profile ID everywhere. Here and here I got an ID on the table profile. So basically it's done. So now I'm gonna run my SQL queries to see if they are working well. So I click on run for table events. All right, my table has been created, and I do the same for clients. And there we go. We have our two tables created. If I get back on the table editor, I can see that I got my clients, I got my events, and I got my profile. Now we've got our authentication setup, and we've got our three tables, profile, clients, and events. I'm going to run my application and set up my Supabase credential in order to be able to push, update, and modify in my Supabase. All right, it's time for us now to set up our Next.js application and to plug it to Supabase. In order to do so, I'm going to create a Next.js app, and I'm going to use Material UI as a UI library. So if we look at it quickly, we see here that we've got a lot of elements that we are going to use. So I go directly into my code editor, and I'm going to create my next application. Then I'm going to install also Supabase.js, Material UI, Emotion React, Emotion Style, and MUI Lab, that are libraries that I'm going to use to just simply display my component. So I'm going to type enter, and I have to give a name. So I'm going to give a name as undefined. would be good. It would be cool as a name, but no. I'm going to put Coach Next.js, Coach Agenda App. So maybe the title of this video will be different, but I'm going to use this. I'm going to type enter, and it's going to install everything. And there we go. So I'm going to launch the app, yarn dev, and then I go on the app, and we have our application in here. So I'm going to start by creating a new folder called utils. So it's going to be here, new folders, utils. And in there, I'm going to create my Supabase client.js. And I'm going to import the create client from Supabase. I'm going to create my Supabase URL, which will point to process.arm.next public Supabase URL. I'm going to create a second one, which will be Supabase anon key. And this one is going to be next public anon key. And of course, I'm going to export this client as create client Supabase URL and Supabase anon key. All right. So this is done. We have our Supabase client set up. Now we need to create an environment file, okay, at the root of our application with these two elements, okay? So I'm going to copy paste the values, the keys, sorry, and then we are going to copy paste the values. Now that I have this, I go back on my Supabase dashboard, and down there I got the values I want. So here I got my project URL, as you see. So I'm going to copy paste this one in here, and I'm going to copy paste the API key that I have there. All right, so it is done. I have now to restart, I guess. Okay, we have set up our application. What we want to do now is to simply work on the authentication of our session. So I'm going to do it at the base of the app. So when I go down there on app in here, I'm going to work on the session. So what I want to do is to create the folder components. And on components, I want to create an auth.js file. And this auth.js file will be simply the authentication that will be displayed, okay? That will be displayed when I'm not logged in. So I'm going for now to return, okay? Let's say a div, okay? And say auth page. All right. So all the basic will be in here. So I'm going to write it right away. So what I'm going to do is that first I'm going to import user state, all right, from React. And I'm going to create a new state, which will be session and set session, okay? And I'm going to set my state to null. So there will be no session, okay, for there. Then what I want to have is get my use effect, and I want to know when I'm logged in or not. Okay, so this use effect will be an empty array for now. And how do I do this? I will trigger, okay, several functions and return several elements. So the first element will be a variable called mounted true. And I will create an async function get initial session. So if I'm logged in, this initial session will make the work. Okay? So every time I will launch, I will have this get initial session triggered. And in Supabase, to get the initial session, it's going to be, so we will have data, and in data we will have an object session that we will use. And we will await for that, and it's going to be supabase.auth.get session. So here we see that I got my Supabase auth client, but actually, remember we created already, okay, we created already the Supabase client that I have from there. So I got Supabase client coming from here, and me personally, I call it Supabase. So basically what I can do is working like this. Okay, that's done. And now what we want to do, we want to know if our component is mounted, so it's by default on true. And if there is a session, I do it basically for you to understand. I want to set my session. Okay? If I got a session, please set the session up there. All right? And also what we would like to have is a loading status. So basically it's here, it's on false. And before we would say that set loading would be on true. And of course, at the end, okay, at the end, everything turns on false. We'll have a subscription object, okay, from the Supabase auth on auth state change. And what is doing auth state change? It's simply returning, okay, if there is a session or not. So it's the same as we did before here. If there is a session, please set it, okay? And what we have in here is this subscription object. And finally, we want to return it. We want to return all of this. We want to return that our mounted will be on false. And also, if there is no subscription, we want to unsubscribe. That's what we want to do. All right. So this whole function will be our authentication system, basically. And that's what we want. So if I get back in here, I don't get any error. That's good. Now, down there, we don't want to have only this component return. What we want to have, basically, we want to know if there is a session or no. So I'm going to try to wrap it into a fragment like this. So if there is no session, like it's the case right now, okay, otherwise I want to return, okay, I want to return my component. So here I made a mistake. I'm going to remove this. There we go. So it's not very clear in here. That's what we want to have. Yes. So when I get back, okay, auth is not imported. So I got to import auth from components /auth. Okay, all right. And we've got our auth page when we are not logged in. So I'm going to get back in here, make it a bit more clear. And there we go. We've got our components. Otherwise, we've got auth just down there. Let's now create our auth component here. So we are going to do exactly the same. I'm going to use a state. So basically, I'm going to have a set loading, a loading in here with use state. Cool, that will be on false. All right. I'm going to have an email because we are going to use the email, set email, which will be use state also, and an empty string. And down there, here, we will have, okay, an input. And this input will be triggered with the email. So let's say that login or sign in, actually sign up when I get back. There we go. And now I can use a container from Material UI. So here I'm going to put my container. So I got something centered like this. I'm going to use the class. I think I can have the text sender class yet. No, I don't. Okay, maybe we'll try this later. Now I've got this, and I'm going to put a quick description, which is sign in via magic link with your email. All right. And I'm going to try to grab on the documentation that I got in here, text field. Yeah, amazing. That's what I want. I want to have a text field in here. So I'm going to copy paste this one that I got there. All right. And I get back and I'm going to type text field from Material UI. There we go. And here, okay, cool. And also I want to have my button from Material UI. Send the magic link in here. And if I remember well, I can do this variant and it's contained exactly. Okay, so now I've got my grid with my elements in here. and it gives this, so I can type my email. And now what I want to do, I want to catch here this here email. So I'm going to say that on change. What I want to do is that catch the event, and I want to set my by email my yes eTarget.value. And to check that, I'm going to put just up there my email that I will have, and on click, okay, I want to also trigger a function, okay, and this function will be basically a function that will trigger it will trigger my Supabase, but it will also handle the logging stuff. So yeah, we're gonna call it handle login. All right, and what I'm gonna do is create this function for now. So handle login will be an asynchronous function with a try catch, of course, and an event finally that will be up there. That's what I want to do. So when I get back in here, if I type my email, it is working. I'm not going to prevent anything in here. What we're going to do directly is to set our loading to true and set to false when it's finished. And we will see how we will handle the login after. I'm going to alert if there is an error. Okay, so I'm going to type alert error, and here will be a description. Or there is also an error message that we will have that will be triggered. And what I want to do is that here I want to call Supabase, like always. I got my client, and I'm going to use auth sign in with OTP. So I got my email up there, and what I want to catch, I want to also catch an error, because I can have an error from there also. So if there is an error, I'm going to throw the error. All right, and I will show an alert to start. So check your email to get link. All right, so now we've got it. We've got our message up there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter my email in here. So I'm going to put guillaumtest@yopmail.com. So I'm going to inspect. All right. I'm going to click on the send the magic link and check your email to get the link. So I'm going to go on Yopmail, and there we go. I got this email, and if I click on login, I'm logged in. I'm supposed to have a session right now because now I've got the home. So we succeed to create our authentication system. And if I get back to my Supabase and I go to the authentication, we see here that I'm registered as a user. All right. So now it's done. What we would like to have is to have some kind of container and a header with an avatar component that tells us that we are logged in. So to do this, first I'm going to get back in my, down there. And here I'm going to put all the app to a component or container. Okay, so I got my container in here, and there we go. And I'm going to create a new component. It will be called header.js. And I'm going to export by default the function header, and I'm going to return to start an h1 called this is my header. All right, so what I want to have also is my header component coming there, and if I get back, I have my header. So now all my pages are will be rendered in here, and then my header will be there. Actually, what I want to display, it's an avatar element. So I can call avatar, all right, that I got up there. And if I go on my component here, I go to avatar, which is really cool. And I will copy paste this. Even if I don't get the color, I will try to put a new color, which will be here. And if I remember well, there's a light blue. Yes, so cool. All right, that's done. But what I want to have here, I want to have a letter. So let's say that here for me it's going to be GD. But I want to catch the letter from my session, okay? So I have to pass to my header the props. Okay, I have to pass the props from the session. And in order to do so, what I can do is on the component here, I'm passing the page props, but here I want to pass my session. So what I'm going to say is session is equal to session. And up there, I can catch session in here. And my session looks like I have a user and I have an email. So in the user here, there we go. We see that I got my email. And if I type 0, I got G. Okay, G like my first name. Okay, all right. So now we've got this. What I would like to have also, it's some kind of logo title. Okay, so it's going to be coach app in there. Remember that on my actually on my databases I have clients, events. So I'm going to create 2 new pages in my app. And these new pages will be actually, there will be folders. So there will be a folders clients and there will be a folder events. For both of them, I'm going to create an index and I'm going to export by default. I'm not going to waste my time writing all the time everything. I'm going to export my function clients. Okay, return h1 list of clients. Okay, and I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm going to copy paste here. So it will be events. Okay, so now it's done. We want to have, of course, we get back on the title, list of clients, and I want to have a header in here. So here I'm going to create router is equal to use router, this button in here. Then I want to create a new page that will be new.js. Okay, so it will be the new client. So new client. Okay, here we've got this and I'm going to call that new client. I'm going to use later this, so I'm going to put new client input in here and there we go. So I'm on my list of clients. I will have a list of client display here. I click on add a new client and I'm on the page of the new clients. I'm going to copy paste this index here and actually I'm going to do the same on events, but it's going to be a list of events and it will be a push of the events in here and add a new event. And for the new file, I'm going to copy paste this file and put it on new. And here I'm going to put new event and it will be new event input. Okay, so when I go on the event page, I click on here and I get the new event input. I come back, there we go. We've got our whole application running. We just need now to create our forms to add new clients. So let's get back on our database and look again at the model of a client. So a client, if you remember well, it has a name, an ID, a profile ID, created at, updated at, okay? The profile ID, it's the owner ID basically. So what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do, I'm going to close all of this and start from right at the beginning. I'm going to go on my pages, on my clients, on my new here, and I'm going to say that here it's going to be an H2, add a new client. And remember, we have on our auth already a model for that, and which is really cool, is this grid. Okay, so I'm not going to waste my time. This is what development is for. I'm going to copy paste all of these elements that I got up there. So it's going to be grid from grid material UI. Okay, I can put it in here. So basically my text field and not my container because I don't need it. I'm going to remove this and there we go. And if I get back and I click on add a new client, okay, I got an error. And maybe this error is coming from, okay, no, there's no error. So add a new client with this grid container and this email. The email doesn't work. And we don't want actually an email. We want to have a name only, okay? So I'm going to put name. Here it's going to be name. And I want to set the name of the input that I got. So my new client's name, I'm going to set the thing. And on click, I'm going to create a new function called save new client. And this function, okay, is going to be an asynchronous function that will be triggered like this. So if I look very well at this, save new client, and I save and I get back. On the page to add a new client, here I can add my new client's name in here. I just need the name because for now, the profile ID, the dates will be triggered automatically. So if we want to save a new client, we just have to send the name of this client. So here I'm going to go on the API. And which is really cool is that if I click on clients in here, we see that I have code generated. Look at that. Look at all of this. On our table clients SQL snippet, we have to put defaults for the dates, and we have to put also default auth UID for the profile ID. It means that every time we are going to put a new client, the default ID will be always fulfilled with the auth ID of the current person. And for the table events, it's the same. We have to put default now for the dates created at, updated at. And here we want to put on profile ID default auth UUID. So the only thing that we're going to fulfill just after that, it's going to be the client ID that we've got in here. Let's try now to add our client. So let's say that my client name will be George. I'm going to open my inspector to look at if there is an error. I'm going to click and nothing happens. And if I look here, all right, I've got a good answer. And here, if I refresh, I've got my George, which is here. And the ID, the UUID of George, the profile ID, it's my ID. So if I go here in authentication, I will find 8666 as an ID, which is mine. So basically, this client is owned by me, okay? My profile ID, it's me. And George, it's the client there. So let's test again. I had a new client, and this client is going to be Anita. I click, and there we go. Now, we want to show our clients on the list of clients. I'm going to go on clients, and I want to select all my clients. So basically, like always, I import my Supabase in here, and I'm going to say const fetch clients. That will be a function that is going to, like always, try catch. Up, check. All right. I'm going to put here select my clients. And remember, I can only select my own clients. So console log error. And exactly like always, what we're going to do is to import user state. So I'm going to just type like this. There we go. And I've got my function there. There we go. Finally, and I'm going to set that on false. Okay, so I got my clients, and I'm going to say if clients console log, yes, console log clients. And there we go. I got my 2 clients down there. So let's get back in our policy. So basically what we wrote for clients, it's that clients are viewable by their owner. So we can insert with check and only viewable by us, okay? And only our own client can be inserted. So I have there my list of clients, and it's amazing because from there I can display a list. All right, so I added a component card with 2 elements, and if I go there and I had a new client like Brigitte and I save and I get back, I got my new element fetched on the fly. Oh, I did this. Here in my loading, in here, if there is a loading, I show, here is a paragraph called loading. Otherwise, I keep using the grid, and with the grid, I show the content on my card. So now, when I click on a client, I would like to add an event. Let's say that I would like to have an action to delete a client. So what could I do is that I could use a component called card action, and here we see that I can put it directly into my card. So down there, and I just have to import it up there, otherwise it won't work. All right, now I'm going to put my card action in here, and it's called learn more. And let's say that I would like to do like delete this client. All right, what we're going to do now, we are going to implement the delete function. So first I'm going to change the color in here, and I'm going to put the color error. So normally it's going to be in red. There we go. And when I will click, I will trigger a function to delete client. So I will say delete client. Okay, it's going to be an asynchronous function. And like always, we copy paste the model that we've got in here. So basically, what I could do is going into my API of Supabase and look at clients and look how can I delete this element. I'm sure there is a way to do it, and there we go. We've got this function. All right, so what I want to do is that I want to delete with a specific ID. So let me look quickly at how the clients table is looking at, and we see that the clients, there is an ID. So basically what I can do is to pass there an ID, and we will say that when ID is going to be passed, I want to delete this ID. If data, I want to console log the data. But also on the fly, I want to remove in my clients list. So in here, I want to remove the element. So what I can do is on set clients, okay, I can filter. So clients filter. The element xid is different from ID. All right. So there we go. So when I'm going to click on this, it's going to trigger, okay, my function delete client with the xid. So let's try now. Let's click on Brigitte, and there we go. It has been deleted. And if I refresh, I don't get Brigitte anymore in my list. So this is how we can delete clients on the fly. Now that we've got a list of clients, let's create now events, and let's create events related to clients. So now I'm going to go on events and I'm going to create the form to create a new event. And you will see that basically it's exactly the same as we've got in our client database in here. So I'm going to use the file that I've got to add a new event. So my new event's name. So let's look first at the model that we've got. An event, it's an ID, profile ID, updated that, and it's going to be a date and a client ID. All right. So it's going to be save new event. Our function is going to be save new event. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to insert in events and we are going to get back on events like this. All right. So here it's going to be a function called new event. Add a new event, my new event's name, blah, blah, blah. So basically here, we don't want to have a name for the event. We want to have a date and we want to have a client. So what we have to do first is to have some select elements. So I'm going to get back in here and look at a select element. And here I got what I need. So in this list, I have to get all my clients. And if you remember well, in the previous step, we had a function from here called fetch clients. I'm just going to use it again. So I'm going to keep this and put it up there. All right. And I'm going to use these fetch clients to put it in here. And there we go. So let me look at this. Yes, I think we've got the clients. All right, we've got the clients. And I'm going to do a loop up there. So the loop is exactly the same as we did before. So when I click, I got George and Hanita. I can set immediately there my event. So event target dot value. All right. And what I want to have, let's say that here I want to have the client ID. I want to see if the ID change when I change the person. So here I got George, here I got Anita, whatever. Okay, so I've got this element, which looks really cool. So let me look at this. We succeed to create a list of clients and the date and time picker by importing Next.js and some elements such as localization provider to succeed to display the date time picker. On select, we set our new date. So here we got 2014 because it's the official example. But let's say that we put 2022. And actually what we could do is not to put this date, but put a random date. So whatever, we see the date and time. What we want to do now is to save our new event. When you don't know like this, you can go directly into your table. Here I go to my table events. And I remember that I got to put the client ID. So basically, I got my client ID up there. So I'm going to put my client ID like this, that I'm going to insert in events. And the date also, I'm going to put my new date. But the thing is, here my new date is not a timestamp, so maybe it won't work. I will have to change it. Let's try now to add an event with George. So right now we had to be in 2022. Let's say that we want to have an event for the 4th of October at 9, okay, and 9:0, and I want to save my new event. And I think it's done. So if I go on my events table and I refresh, there we go, I got my event saved. So now I want to do exactly what I did for the clients. First, I'm going to create events, so set events, all right. And I'm going to copy paste this function that we got in here. And I want to fetch the events and not the clients. So there we go. Here I want the events. And I'm going to set my events from events. And remember, we have our date this way. So we've installed day.js, okay? So I can import day.js from day.js. There we go. And I want to give a format to this date. So I'm going to put day.js date format, and here I can put a format like the months y. And if I get back, all right, I've got this. But also, if I would like to, I could say that I would like to have Tuesday 4th of October. We keep the delete button, but now it's not going to be delete client, but delete event. So I get up there and I change for delete event. I just change on events and I want to set the new events like this. It's really, really simple to events this way. All right, so let's try to delete our event. I click, and here if I get back, I refresh, and it deleted my event. So let's create a new event again. So let's say that with George, I want to have a meeting on the 5 and it's going to be at 9:30. I want to save my event, and there we go. That's really cool. Okay, so now we've got our events, and don't forget that we got our client ID. And let's say that we want to show here that it's an event with George or Anita. And how can I do this? But we can do it with relations, of course, in Supabase. So basically, I'm going to get back on my Supabase dashboard in here. I'm going to go on my tables. And what I got here is the client ID on the events. Okay, so when I click on tables, here I got my events. I click here and I want to make a relation. So I'm going to click it there and I'm going to click on add a foreign key relation. And I'm going to get down and I want to go on clients, and the clients will be related to what? To an ID. So my event will have a reference to the client's ID. So I'm going to save, and the client's ID will be related to public.clientID. Once it's saved, we can go on our events. And when I click on my events in there, I've got, okay, this event right there. And on my profile ID, if I click on view data, it is related, all right, to here, my name, of course. But if I get back in here and I go on the client ID, it's related to George. That's what we're gonna get on our application to show George. So back in the API, we can read that we can have the foreign tables over there when I select elements. And it's a good exercise, all right, to see how the data is displayed from there. So I'm going to console log my clients, my events. So basically here it's supposed to be events, all right. I save, okay. So here I got one event in here. And when I select them on my API, we see that I can have a model. And if I put here a star, let's see what I got as data. I got all my data. But let's say that now, okay, if I go down in there, so I'm supposed to put backticks, there we go. I'm supposed to put this. Then let's say that on the client, so I'm in my select, I want to have all the events, but I want to have also the name of the current client. So when I get this and I update, when I look at the data, if I open, suddenly I have the name of George, which is amazing. So what can I do? Down there, I can put in here, okay, let's say that we will have this, x.clients.name. And there we go, I got my date over there. I want to have also the hour and the minutes. Okay, so basically here it's too complicated. I'm going to put the day and the months, and there we go. We've got our event saved. So this is how you can create relations, all right, between tables. You can go on the model and create relation between tables with foreign keys, just like you do in PostgreSQL. Let's create a new event just to test. I've got Anita. I'm going to put this hour. There we go. At 30, same events. Here we are. All right. We could imagine that later we would just filter by date, sort by date. Now I go to a new client. I'm going to add a new client again, which will be me. All right. So I save this client. I've got this client. I go on my event and I can create a new event just for me. So the date, we would put the date of today, just an example like this for you guys. Here, always the same, 50, save a new event. You see, I didn't put the name, which is cool. I save my event and there we go. I got my list of events. If I want to delete it, I put it in there.